If life is a game, this is the greatest game we can ever play because we choose who can play within our game, what rules to play by, how long the game lasts for, and how to win the game. That includes relationships. You have this awesome power to define what you want to experience in your life. So don't you owe it to yourself and the person that you want to be with to define those things now so that you can experience the life that you want to within a relationship.
Yeah.
You have that power. And so do the work and you will get to experience the rewards.
Welcome to the Asian Dating Podcast. I'm your host, May Bugenhagen. I am the founder of Two Asian Matchmakers, a boutique matchmaking company that started in Los Angeles. And now I help men all across the US of all ethnicities meet Asian women. So if you are looking for a lovely Asian woman, please contact me at twoasianmatchmakers.com. And if you're a lady out there who wants to meet a great guy, please, by all means, register with me so I know how to find you. Now, every week I bring on a guest to talk about dating, talk about anything related to Asian dating or just dating in general. And this week I have Jeremy Cortez. He met his wife in November 2002, and we're going to talk about his dating and all that. He is the founder of CEO Parent, a company focused on supporting parents to create inspired lives so that they can parent from an inspired place. He is a best-selling author in 7 categories on Amazon for his book, Parenting a Business. If you can raise a child, you can run a business. He resides in San Francisco, California, with his amazing wife, Veronica, and 2 wonderful boys, Sebastian and Elliot. Welcome to the show, Jeremy. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me on.
So tell us a little bit about how you met your wife and how you got to where you are today with your struggles, your ups and downs, and especially the ups that you came across in your relationship.
Well, she and I had met in, again, 2002 in November. It was kind of a very interesting story how my best friend at the time and her best friend at the time were courting each other. They went to a bar and we were their wingmen. So we were their plus ones, and we started connecting, and come to find she had broken up on with a relationship that was long term 2 weeks prior to meeting me. So the day I met her, I was Mr. Rebound. And from there, we kind of hit it off. We got together in March of the following year, 2003, and we haven't looked back since. A lot of we essentially grew up together in terms of our relationships together and kind of finding ourselves. But we were very fortunate to have very complementary personalities, where a lot of the things that she was wonderful at, I was terrible at, and all the things that I'm wonderful at, she was terrible at. And so together we kind of just helped each other, for lack of a better term, grow as individuals, as together. A lot of the challenges and disconnects that we would have were based off of growing pains, not knowing ourselves. But again, kind of over time, our morals, our values, our desires of what we wanted to experience in life kind of were aligned. And because those things were in alignment, it was actually very natural for us to not necessarily just stay together, but say, yeah, you are the type of person that I kind of want to walk this world with and experience this world with.
So you mentioned that she met you after she just broke up with a man. 2 weeks later, she met you, and you said something about being her rebound. Like, how did you make sure that she wasn't dating you because you were a rebound? Like, how did you kind of make sure that, okay, I want this to go the long haul and not have it just be a temporary thing?
You may kill me for divulging this information, but what ended up happening was we were dating. When we first met, we started dating, and I found out that I was Mr. Rebound, and I was kind of okay with it for a little while. I said, she wants to get over her ex with me. I'm kind of good with that. Then we got kind of serious up to a certain point, and what ended up happening was she went to go see him on Valentine's Day the very next year. She said that they had this agreement that even if they were dating anybody, that they would see each other for Valentine's Day. And so I took that as, okay, I guess it's not that serious. So she goes and sees him, and all the reasons why they broke up came up during this Valentine's date. But I said, I don't know if this is right for me anymore. So let's take a step back. She comes back, she realized she wanted to be with me, and I had to take a step back, and I said, well, is it just because I'm a rebound or I'm convenient? Let's take a step back, and let's just say that at a friend's birthday party, we both realized that no, this is actually a real thing. I'm not a rebound anymore. This is a conscious choice that she wanted to have, and I felt very secure with it. And so that's when we got together. It circumstance had it where I was, and this wasn't going to be a serious relationship, but you can say that serendipity, love, whatever you want to call it, kind of just came through for us. And the circumstances happened the way they did. It solidified and reassured her that no, I'm a better fit. And it assured me that no, she's all in.
So are you saying that if this situation happens with somebody that you should take a pause and be like, hey, I know this could potentially just be a rebound relationship, but do you just want to take some time to think about it? That way it gives them an out and gives you an out?
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's all about choice.
Yeah.
And we don't want to force anybody to be there if they don't want to be there. And yes, it may hurt in the short term, but the reality is that if you really are playing the long game, then short-term pains are worth it. Being able to walk away from something that you know is not aligned. That's usually the hardest part when the chemistry is so good and you have this history together and da 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 da. If you're thinking about long-term relationships and making it last through a lifetime, then alignment is the number one focus, at least in my opinion. And I'll give you a quick example. When we met, I used to smoke cigarettes, and I was a pack a week guy. It wasn't anything terrible, but it wasn't anything great. And she didn't like smoking. And she did this wonderful thing. She didn't tell me to stop quitting. She didn't judge me for smoking. She basically said, you can smoke, but every time you do, I just won't touch you. I won't hold your hand. I won't give you a hug. I won't give you a kiss. I will not touch you because I don't like smoking. And I kind of looked at this long term and I said, well, if I want to have a relationship with this person, she didn't tell me I couldn't, but she basically said that if you want a real relationship, something has to change. And literally, I quit that day. It was hard for sure, but the alignment was there because what mattered to me more was being in her company versus the cigarettes. And again, there was no judgment, there was no control, but there was a matter of fact that this is one of my number one things, that if you do this, I can't be with you. And I said, you know what? I respect that. And I'm willing to change for that.
So for the listeners out there who want advice on relationships and dating, would you give them a piece of advice when you were dating? What was a big aha moment for you that you realized, you know what, she might be it? Like, what made you want to be your best person when you were dating your wife?
What it really came down to, again, I grew up exposed to divorce when I was young, and I knew what I wanted and I knew what I didn't want to experience. And so being exposed to divorce young, it gave me this conviction that I really wanted to get it right the first time, that I didn't want to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortunes that my parents did, that I didn't want my kids to experience what I went through in divorce. And because of that, I was extremely clear about the education that I wanted to understand of what made relationships work. And the number one piece of advice that was given to me, I can't remember if someone told me this or if I read it, but the number one piece of advice was selection is the hardest part, but if done right, takes care of about 90% of challenges. Who you select is just as important, if not more important, than how you show up after the fact. And what I mean by that is knowing what you want in a relationship, and not necessarily. And the one thing that most people that I talk to, they usually say, I want to be in a relationship because of this, that, or whatever the case. And a lot of times the reason why they want to be in a relationship is what they can get from it. It's this, I want to get love. I want to get this. I want to be taken care of. I want to feel special. I want to have someone to date on Valentine's Day. And it's all about them. But the reality is that true relationship, the definition of relationship in its root form is to relate. And you can't relate if you're always looking for what you're going to get out of it. So the number one piece of advice that I could give is find someone that you just want to relate to daily, constantly. I mean, my wife and I see each other every single day. And even when we're at work, we're texting each other every day. I want to be around this person all the time. She is my favorite human being in the world. And I want to experience life with her at every moment. Wow, that's so weird for a guy to say. Wow, that's so weird. How do you do that? I selected correctly. I just knew that I just wanted to spend all my time with this person. And so that is the biggest piece of advice, is the selection process of knowing that, yeah, for better or for worse, until like I am committed to relating to you. I am not committed to asking for things from you, demanding things from you, expecting things from you. I am committed to relating to you and being able to experience this world with you.
I often wonder how couples can be together and one person would say, "Oh, yeah, my husband hates when I do this." So then they do it more. It's like, why would you want to do that if you know that he doesn't like it when you do this? Why would you try to undercut or undermine it and do it some more just to spite him back? So I get it. I get it. I've been with my husband for about 16 years now. We've been married for 5, and I never get sick of him. Like when we're in the same house, everything's great. We do stuff and we just hang out with each other. And, so I do wonder, like, why do some people end up getting married with someone that they don't really care to hang out with all the time? Like they're trying to like get out of the house or go and have a guys' night. Yes, I understand guys should have guys' night, girls should have girls' night, hang out with friends. All that is important, but yeah. So when you say, I want to find somebody I could relate to and like to be around and text her and keep in touch with her and all that, that's true love, right? That's really important. So that's great advice. Great advice.
And
Now,
it's,
oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, and it's not to say that like my wife loves to travel. I personally don't. I'm one of those weirdos who doesn't like to travel. She went on a solo trip without our kids to Japan for 10 days. It was just herself, and her phone to just backpack through Japan. And I made sure that the kids were okay and that everyone was good. And she got to have her time as well. And then it's not necessarily this thing of, oh, she gets this, now I get my turn. I want her to have these experiences independent of whether or not I get anything back. Why? Because seeing her happy and making and giving to her brings me happiness authentically. I can take care of myself. I am coming to this relationship to give, not to receive. The receiving will be a byproduct, but there is no expectation of that. I'm coming into this relationship to give, period. And the easiest equation I can equate to is, if I have this relationship with my wife where I believe that I am in this relationship to give to her, to make sure that she is fulfilled, that she is loved, that she is supported in every way, shape, or form. I am in this relationship to give, not to get. Now, likewise, if she's doing the exact same thing, if she can take care of herself independent of this relationship, and at the same time, she comes into this relationship wanting to give to me, wanting to support me, wanting to make sure that I am happy every single day, it is impossible for us to have war, because we're constantly going into this relationship giving. Like, she and I don't fight. And it's not to say that we don't disagree, but we don't fight. And the reason being is because we understand that we independently of each other can take care of ourselves. And yet we choose, when we come into this thing called a relationship, to make sure that the other is doing well. And with that one intention alone and no expectations of getting, we will always get because we're always giving.
Yeah. It's beautiful. I love it. I love it. Now, you said no question is off limits, right?
Bring it.
Actually, I was just noticing that you're not wearing a wedding ring. Is that not important for your wife to see you have a wedding ring on? Like, what if you're out and about and you're being charismatic, you're talking to people about your 1% challenge, and they're like, wow, he's a cool guy. I wonder if he's single. Like, why not wear a wedding ring?
Funny story. So my original wedding ring is at the bottom of the Eat, Pray, Love beach. I lost my wedding ring in Bali, at the beach, in one of the beaches in Bali. And my wife was with me. We were playing football, ring drops. I'm searching all over the place. I'm panicking. And she just looks at me and she goes, I guess we're gonna need a new one.
How long ago was that?
About 8 years ago. And so what happened was, I ended up getting another ring and another ring and another ring. And I will also say this, my weight fluctuated all the time. So the ring would fit and then the ring would not fit. Either it was too loose or it was too, it was too tight. So one of my old businesses was, I was a fashion photographer. So I'm constantly surrounded by models, beautiful, stunning pieces of DNA that I get to photograph on a consistent basis. And I told her, I said, if you have a problem with this, tell me now and I will quit. And she said, Jeremy, ish happens. Just don't put yourself in a position for ish to happen. And we're good. And I said, no problem. Ever since then, when I meet new models or new talent or whoever, I'm constantly talking about my wife. Constantly. I have photos of her in my studios. I have photos of her on my phone, constantly talking about her. So everybody knows, no, he's married, regardless of whether or not there's a ring or anything. And 9 times out of 10, I'll come home and I'll say, babe, someone really wants to meet you. She's like, again? And I'm like, I can't stop talking about you. I really can't. I can't stop singing your praises. Everyone says you're such a cool person. And she goes, okay, I'll meet him. So the ring is arbitrary, and I'm constantly talking to people about her.
Yeah.
And so everyone knows that I'm taken.
I think that's great. I think that's also a lesson to be learned for singles out there, married or not, or in a relationship. They should talk about their significant other often, right? It's A, lets the other person know that they are not available. And B, you're so proud of your partner that you would want to share anything about them. And if you don't want to share all this stuff about your partner, maybe there is something wrong with your relationship, right?
Yes,
So,
100%. I am her biggest fan, and I show it
yeah,
through all of my actions and through all of the words that come out of my mouth. I speak her praises constantly.
good, good. Now, so you guys have been married for how many years now? I know you guys met in 2002, got married in 2010. So
Correct.
you've been married for 13 years now, right?
Correct.
Um, so divorce rate is, I think, 55% now. What would you say there's a couple things that keeps your relationship passionate, solid? What do you do day to day, week to week, month to month to stay connected with your wife?
One thing that is extremely important is to understand how the other processes connection. So if we think about love languages, my love language is touch. Ironically, she hates PDA and physical contact. How we got together, I'll never know. How we stayed together, I'll still never know. Hers are acts of kindness, and I hate doing the dishes. So you can imagine there's this constant check-in with ourselves individually about what are we doing to show the others in their love language that we still care. Now, for me, I love quality time. Phones down, and we can just talk, or I can just sit there and we can just. I'm a cuddler. I love physical touch. She's not. She hates it. She thinks it's such a chore, and it's like it's so hot, and we get sweaty and don't want to do that. So invariably, I will have my moments where we get to snuggle. Hers are actually external experiences. So she will go, it's like, oh, we're going to go to a comedy show. Awesome. Oh, we're going to go for a hike. Awesome. Let's do it. And so we do these outdoor activities together, phones off. We get to experience the thing together constantly. So we have our jobs, we have our kids, and then we're also constantly looking for ways. Oh, we just did something called sushi and sumo and sushi, where we got to eat sushi and we got to watch a sumo match. That was different.
Yeah.
Um, we have our TV shows together where we go, did you see what just happened? Oh my God. And we can kind of talk about that for days. So there are constantly things that we do together that aren't necessarily break in case of emergency, but that are habitual, scheduled programs, if you will. Again, date night is a mandatory thing. It is not an optional thing. It is not a luxury. This is a prescribed thing from your doctor.
It's one of those things where it keeps the relationship fresh and new, and something that you get to look forward to. Even if you have kids, like we have two kids that are under the age of 9, and we still have this as a prescribed thing. We have her parents take care of the kids, and date night is ours. We are not parents, we are not workers, we are a couple, and we get to do things. We actually still travel together too. One of our vacations without the kids is we go to New York and we watch musicals for 2 nights. So we'll do a 3-day trip. We'll fly out. We'll start watching musicals. We'll eat, and we get to be a couple. And by taking care of ourselves, each other, and nurturing this relationship, it actually makes us better parents too. So all of the things that we are able to do together enhances all the things that make life worth living, for lack of a better term. Date night, vacations together, again, independence of responsibility. We can still do the stuff with our kids. We can still do the stuff as individuals, but we also have to do stuff as a couple consistently. This isn't, again, a break in case of emergency. This is really do you brush your teeth every day, morning and night? Well, do you go on date night once a week, every week?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know you mentioned that you didn't really have a lot of long-term relationships or before you and your wife were dating, and you were reading, you were learning about the 5 love languages, you were learning about Tony Robbins stuff. And you mentioned that there are 5 things you learned that women want. And I'm sorry, 3 things that women want and 3 things that men want. So can you tell me a little bit about what are those 3 things that women want and what are the 3 things that men want based on what you've learned?
Okay, this one is a game changer. If anyone were to ever listen to anything on relationships, regardless if you want them to be intimate or not, this one is the one. Okay, because this completely changed how I approach relationships for both of us, and it completely works. So I'm going to start by saying instead of just saying what men want and women want, I'm going to use terms masculine and feminine. Now, I will concede that men have both masculine and feminine energies, and women have masculine and feminine energies. But in terms of a relationship, the ability to relate, there's usually one that's going to be masculine and there's one that's going to be feminine dominantly. Now, if for all intents and purposes, we're going to presume that the men are going to be more on the masculine side and the women are going to be on the feminine side. So with that being said, there are only three things when you come down to it, when we talk about the surface thing, it meets one of three needs that men want, and there's only three needs that women want. And I'll start with women, so you can tell me whether or not this is true. Three things that women want. Women want to be infeminine. Women want to be seen. Women want to feel safe. And women want to feel understood. So, May, you are in a relationship. The person who you're with sees you for who you really are, makes you feel safe so you can express however you desire to, with no judgment, no criticism, and no lost sense of love. And this person understands you. It's like Avatar, I see you. And feeling those things, you are now free to move about the country in feminine flow. And those three things support the feminine energy that is connected to masculine. Okay. Would you say those three things are pretty accurate?
Yes, very accurate. Yes,
okay.
Men want to feel secured. Women want to be heard, not interrupted. And women want to be understood. Yeah, you're spot on. So go on. What about men?
Okay, men, here's how war happens. Here's how conflict really happens. So the things that men want are actually, how we can remember this is in the form of what we don't want. So men do not want to be criticized. Men do not want to be controlled. And men do not want to be closed off to. So this is how war happens. Boyfriend, husband, partner, masculine partner comes home and feminine gets her hair done. And masculine says, "Hi, how are you?" And feminine says, "Oh, did you notice anything new?" Masculine, and I'll also say this, men, we're not very smart. We're actually extremely simple and we're very basic. We don't notice much. And so when someone says, "Oh my gosh, there's a pop quiz, I feel cornered, I feel trapped because I'm da-da-da." Oh, I don't notice. I don't notice that you have your hair done. Now feminine is upset because she doesn't feel seen. So what does she do? She doesn't criticize, she doesn't control, she closes off. Subconsciously, he doesn't see me, so I don't feel safe, or she doesn't see me, so I need to close off. Masculine now feels her closing off. And now he may say something in more aggressive form to try and fix the situation, but does even more harm. Oh my gosh, now he doesn't understand me. He doesn't understand. I just wanted to show him that I got my hair done. Or here's a classic one. Feminine vents to masculine. Masculine tries to fix feminine problem. Feminine doesn't need you to fix it. Feminine needs to just feel seen. She needs to feel like she can express freely. Don't need to fix the problem. But masculine, we're hunters. We solve problems. So she's providing to me a problem. I need to solve it. And now feminine gets mad that I solved the problem. Wait a minute. Why are you getting mad at me? I was doing my job. This is how war arises, when we don't understand each other's needs. And by understanding these needs, it makes it extremely easy for us to come up with a game plan. Oh, you know what? My wife is talking to me right now. I'm not supposed to say anything. Oh, my wife is talking to me right now. I'm not supposed to fix this. I'm supposed to be here and listen to her. I'm not supposed to do anything else. It's that simple. You don't say, keep telling, what else happened? And now she feels seen, she feels understood. And on the flip side, she doesn't control, like I said before, when it came to smoking, she didn't control me. She didn't try to criticize me. She just let me know, as a matter of fact, this is my reaction when you smoke. It was a brilliant way for getting me to stop smoking without criticizing or controlling me or closing off towards me. On the flips, yeah.
So with that, a woman comes home and she did her hair. How would you suggest that she go about communicating as opposed to saying, what's different about me?
Okay, and I'm going to say this. This may offend anybody because
That's all right.
Men are dumb. We are dumb. We're not very smart. We are extremely simple creatures. So, woman comes home, gets her hair done, say, look, I got my hair done. How does this look? Period.
Yeah. Yeah.
Period.
This goes back to a conversation I had with a girlfriend. She complained that she went out on a date and the guy didn't ask her any questions. And she was like so upset that he didn't show any interest or didn't pay attention to her or her life. And I said, well, instead of getting upset with what he said, how about you go on a date and you make statements like, oh, yeah, I love traveling. I just went to Europe last year and it was so fun. What do you think about that? Or ask him for his opinion after you say your statement. So you can very well come home and say, gosh, I had a great day at the salon today. I got my hair done. What do you think? Right? Like that's so much better than trying to quiz him or trying to see if he notices. It's like you're almost setting yourself up to fail in that instance.
And it's a validation of, does he see me? Will he do the necessary things to validate me? Again, this goes back into, why are you going into the relationship? To be seen, to be safe, to feel understood. I understand that. But on the flip side of the coin, not everything has to be a test.
Yes, I agree. I agree. I remember years ago, I went shopping for a holiday party dress and I was talking to this guy that I know, and he didn't even mean to purposely ask me about my shopping day. He was just kidding. But this is what he said. He goes, oh, what store did you go into? What dress did you end up buying? How many dresses did you try on? He was just kidding. He didn't actually really care about that. But in my mind, I was like, oh my gosh, he actually cared about that, my experience with dress shopping. And I remember that till this day because he didn't mean to ask me those questions genuinely, but the fact that he asked them made me like that more. Do you know what I mean? So I guess
Yes.
the lesson out there for the men are just pay a little bit attention to your woman and ask her little questions like that. Like if she's saying, you know what, I'm just going to spend the day reading on a Sunday. Oh, what book are you reading? Do you
Yes.
know what I mean? Like just little stuff like that really melts our hearts that he's showing that he cares. And it's free. It doesn't cost you anything to just ask her little bit, little bit interesting stuff like that. So,
And this goes back to alignment.
yeah.
I genuinely want to know what's going on in my wife's day. I
Yeah.
genuinely do,
Yeah.
because she sees the world differently than I do.
Mhm.
Like I said, I don't like travel. I told her this past year, I said, you know what? You get one trip out of me. You get one trip where I will not say a word. I want to see the world through your eyes. I will carry every bag. I will not say a word, and I will eat whatever you eat. I will experience whatever you experience. And at the end, I will make my assessment whether or not I want to keep traveling. But I'm genuinely curious to see how you see the world.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I'll also say this. I was talking to a friend of mine, and he is a major triathlete, and he was dating someone who's not a triathlete. And I said, that relationship was not going to last very long. And he goes, why would you say that? I said, because do you know the lifestyle of someone who is a triathlete? All you do is train. If she doesn't do that, you're never going to see her. You need to date another triathlete. And sure enough, it wasn't like through anything I said. It was just a matter of fact. They break up. Who does he date? A triathlete. And guess what? They get married after some time because they had similar likes. They had similar interests. So again, the ability to relate is the whole point of a relationship. And so who gives you the best chance to relate to by you naturally being interested? Then you naturally will do things like ask how your day is because you are naturally interested in that.
But on the flip side, there are people who have different interests, but yet they come together at the end of the day and share stuff. So wouldn't you agree that there are couples that don't have similar interests, but yet they do some things with their friends, and the guy does something with his friends, and you don't have to be with each other the whole time? Like, you can't expect your partner to be your best friend, lover, shopper, person to go get your nails done with. And you know what I mean? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, okay, so I'll also go back to it too. My wife and I couldn't be more opposite from each other. I'm extroverted. My thing is to hang out, go to conferences, and just shake hands and kiss babies all day long. Her thing is solo travel, which I couldn't. I'm like, oh, that sounds terrible. That just sounds like work. And so we are opposite from each other, but we have found points of relation. We have, I find what she does fascinating because it is so polar opposite from how I process the world. And so I naturally want to learn about her world because of it. Yes, we are complete opposites. And yet, like you said, we can come together for certain things. The one thing that we can come together with all the time, blindfolded, musicals. We'll watch musicals all day with each other. Our kids, horseback riding. I watch NFL. She could care less.
Yeah.
So absolutely. I do agree with that.
So, knowing what you know about dating and today's society with all the apps and all the other distractions, how would you approach dating or give dating advice?
Number one, I would probably say is do you want a relationship? Knowing that will tell you a lot, and being honest with yourself about it. Like independent of the good opinion of other people. Why do you want a relationship? Do you want to feel loved? Do you want connection? Do you want to do you want to experience the world with somebody? Do you want kids? What is your number one intent? And knowing that gives you a better shot of actually finding the right person you align with. So knowing your why, and then I usually say have your top 3 list of criteria. Usually when people date, it'll be a laundry list of things that went wrong in past relationships that they are now carrying as the expectations to find Mr. or Mrs. Right. When in reality, there's usually 3 things that are non-negotiable for you. Everything else can be negotiated. Top 3 things.
What were your
And
top 3 things?
my number 1 was being willing to communicate openly, because I know exactly why my parents got divorced, and it was because their communication with each other was poor at best. And so I said, I have to be able to talk this out, and I need you to be willing to talk things out. Conflict resolution. We are not going to sweep this under the rug. Second one for me was, I will lay down in traffic for you, but I need to know that on some level you are committed to this relationship. Meaning you're in this relationship and you're not going to look elsewhere. You're in this relationship, you're going to give it your all. Because there are people out there that are just casually dating, and then hopefully they'll find the one. And that's what I see, especially with swipe right and swipe left apps today. The biggest challenge is we think that there is a big pool of people that we can date. When in reality, if you want a long-lasting relationship, then there's probably a handful that align with you. And the hardest part is trying to find those people and finding the compatibility to see if you align with them. So we have this illusion that, yeah, we can date anybody. Yeah, that's true. But again, so it goes back to your number one intention. Why are you doing this? And then number two, having the right criteria. And then the third is knowing what you offer, knowing what you're willing to do in the relationship, what your negotiables and non-negotiables are. And what I mean by that is, if I were to date again, so let's just say my wife and I get divorced, I have my kids. I know that I am not going to put my relationship over my kids. Sorry, it's not going to happen. It's just not. I have my businesses. In order for me to make money, earn money, put a roof over my head, my kids' heads, whatever the case, I need my business to run. So it's not to say that it's non-negotiable that I won't spend time with my new partner, but it is to say that this is a necessity for me to have in my life, so that, and I will carve out time for our relationship, but just know that this supports my kids, and my kids are my number one.
Yeah. Dating can be fun, right? Dating can be great as long as you kind of know what you're looking for, and don't just go with somebody who you think you have the best chemistry with, because the chemistry is not going to take you to 10, 15, 30, 40 years from now. It's the whole package, right? So, well, thank you for your time. Any last minute advice?
If life is a game, this is the greatest game we can ever play, because we choose who can play with in our game, what rules to play by, how long the game lasts for, and how to win the game. That includes relationships. You have this awesome power to define what you want to experience in your life. So don't you owe it to yourself and the person that you want to be with to define those things now, so that you can experience the life that you want to within a relationship. Yeah. You have that power. And so do the work, and you will get to experience the rewards.
I love it. Well, thank you, Jeremy, so much for your time. And thank you, listeners. Please like or subscribe to the channel or to this podcast. And have a great day, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.